Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. It's Thursday, September 25th, 2025. You're watching DeProgram with me, Ted Rall, and John Kiriakou. Thanks for joining us. We're here Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We are going to change the schedule a little bit starting next Wednesday, but through Tuesday, we will be here at the regular time slot. Just a reminder, Tuesday we have an interview with Reality Winner about her new book and about her life. She's, of course, the NSA whistleblower. It went really well. I think it was a great interview. So I think you guys will like it. John, good to see you.
Good to see you, Ted. I want to add real quickly, Reality Winner does not do a lot of interviews. And she was incredibly forthcoming in this interview. In all seriousness, you're not going to want to miss it. If I weren't the co-host of the show, I would say, oh, my God, that was a great interview. So
that's awesome. I thought it was a great interview. I heard her on Fresh Air with Terry Gross, and it was a good interview. But I think ours is a little better, to be honest.
I agree.
All right, John, let's pick a topic. Shall it be the mass firings threatened over the government shutdown? Should it be the judge threatening the Trump administration over talking shit about Luigi? Should it be my personal favorite story, the Jeffrey Epstein Donald Trump statue on the Washington Mall? Should it be more Russian provocations, this time in Alaskan airspace? Or should it be this mysterious meeting that War Secretary Hegseth has called for all the generals and admirals? Get your ass to Quantico. We have to talk. The boss wants to talk to you, but he won't say what it's about. That's not usually a good sign. Or should it be like the thing that I did the main topic just because I thought it would make a funny graphic? The Death-scalator. Trump accusing the UN of trying to kill him with the Death-scalator. So what shall we? A lot to choose from. Plus whatever you guys want to talk about. So
it tells me that Washington is a very unpredictable place right now, and that's not a good thing. So let's start with the government shutdown.
Cool.
Just as a matter of practice, I always predict that there will not be a government shutdown. Always, right? Because at the last minute, they come to an agreement and they work it out. It's another continuing resolution for another 30 days or another 90 days or whatever. This time's different. This time is different, very different. So I say it's different because it's far more complicated to the point where there can't be a continuing resolution. This time there could only be an agreement or a shutdown. Why? Because the big, beautiful bill specifically funded some programs and specifically didn't fund other programs. So now the Democrats said a week ago, if you give us 30 days more funding on these 5 or 6 different points, we'll vote to pass a continuing resolution. And they wrote a letter to Donald Trump over the weekend saying, we would like to meet with you. Trump agreed to the meeting, but then yesterday, John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, and Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, wrote a letter to Trump saying, don't meet with the Democrats. They're going to try to trick you. And so Trump canceled the meeting. The government runs out of money on the 30th, which is just in 5 days, at midnight on the 30th. And so what Trump threatened this morning was what he called mass firings. So I mentioned to you before the show started, when I was listening to NPR this morning, and I've boycotted NPR for years just because they've always been such dicks to me, but there's nothing to listen to out here, really. So I had NPR on, and they were talking about mass firings with the government closure. And I said to my brother, not mass firings, mass furloughs. And then they always bring everybody back, and they always pay them for the time that they didn't work. I was wrong. Donald Trump is threatening to fire every federal employee who works in an unfunded program. This has never been done before in American history, Ted.
Does he have the right?
Absolutely, yes. He does. Right. He has the right. But he's talking about taking a butcher knife to the federal bureaucracy. And if you're a deficit hawk, okay, that's great. Although he's not going to do anything about defense spending, so it's kind of phony anyway. But we're talking about reshaping the American government in ways that it's never been reshaped before.
Assuming he goes through. I mean, he's a huge blusterer. Yeah, I mean, we see this on tariffs. We see it on everything else. Yeah. I'm going to fuck you up. I'm going to break everything. And then it's like, yeah, actually not. I mean, how many times did he kick the can on TikTok?
And I just got a push notification in the last few minutes saying that he and Xi Jinping have agreed on the sale of TikTok. And so he's in the process right now of signing an executive order taking over TikTok.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess he did ultimately get his way, and this does work sometimes. Yeah. So, I mean, he's obviously out to terrorize the Democrats here. But it's a big risk, right? I mean, if he trashes government services, people aren't getting their Social Security checks. Already, Social Security offices have slowed down due to, yes. John, you and I asked you this question right before we went on the air. I'll ask it to you again. Wasn't this what Doge was supposed to be all about?
Yes.
So what's this?
What's this? It's like he decided Doge was a bad idea. And then once everybody from Doge was gone, he changed his mind and said, yeah, Doge is actually a good idea. I don't want to bring all those people back. I'll just slash and burn the federal government by myself. I don't know.
Unless he's just bullshitting like he often does. That's the problem. I mean, if he were a poker player, the problem is, maybe he is playing poker. It's more like he's a driver. And so I had this girlfriend. She was brilliant, but she was a terrible driver. And she would sometimes drive really aggressively. She was from New Jersey. They do that there. Mm-hmm. And then other times she'd drive really cautiously, really, really slow, and riding the brakes all the time. And she constantly got rear-ended. And she got 3 cars totaled within 4 months. And I was like, this is kind of your fault. And she goes, well, I got rear-ended each time. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that. But other drivers watch your patterns and they can't predict you. And they think, oh, the way she's driving, she's going to go for the yellow. And so she slams on the brakes on the yellow and gets rear-ended. That's what Trump is like. I mean, it's really hard politically to assess, well, how serious is he? Because if he was the kind of guy who, I'm not a bluffer. If I were the president, if I made a threat, I'd always carry it through. After a while, people would realize when Rall threatens, he's serious.
Yeah.
But he's not like that. So people don't know whether to be scared or to roll their eyes. I can't imagine that's a great strategy for President Trump.
No, I can't imagine either. And, one of the things that surprised me is that Thune and Johnson are asking him to shut it down. Now, we know from long time experience that the Republicans always get blamed for the shutdown. This time might be different.
Always.
They do. This time might be different. Now, the Democrats may be successful in saying, wait a minute, we were ready to negotiate, but Trump canceled the negotiation, which is also true.
Well, that's true. I mean, look, this is going to be one of those cases where if it happens, both parties will say it's their fault. Mm-hmm. It won't be cut and dry. No. And I think for the average American voter who, is working 75 hours a week and is only reading the headlines on their push notifications on their phone, they're going to be thinking, oh God, these are these fucking Washington people. Who fucking knows? They're not going to know who to blame. In a way, that's worse because they're not going to be able to assert pressure. We have a bunch of comments and questions. So let's see. SDR, why is the U.S. provoking Russia with airplane flights over Alaska? Why do you do that? Well, we were going to talk about that. Mm-hmm. We might as well just talk about it. Look, this is the latest. This is something called the Alaska Air Defense Identification Zone, which is sort of a buffer zone between eastern Russia, Siberia, and Alaska. And routinely, the pilots from both countries, even during the Cold War, they got to know each other. They'd see each other.
They would actually wave at each other from plane to plane.
They'd show each other. The Americans would sometimes bring porn mags and like show the centerfolds to their Russian counterparts, and the Russians would be like, "Yeah, da." And so it's pretty funny. So, but basically, there seems to be a pattern right now, right? We know the Russians did a 12-minute incursion over Estonia. There are Danish There were drones over Denmark. No one's saying it's the Russians, but no one's not saying it's the Russians. It really could be anyone. And now there's this. And of course, obviously, Russian jets have been over Poland. The Poles are really pissed about it. So NORAD basically did a show of force here. They didn't shoot it down. Trump openly said at the UN that any Russian plane that violates NATO airspace should be shot down. I mean, certainly any country has the right to shoot down the plane, but it's generally not normally done. It's sort of assumed, like, we know what you did here, or we think it was a mistake, but anyway, we guide you out of the airspace. We really don't want to escalate to that level.
Right.
Why is this happening? I think this is more of the same. I think this is the Russians' way. They are, I did mention the comparison to North Korea. It's a temper tantrum. It's a sort of a way, it's probing, but it's also, for me, I think it's a way for Putin to say, you can't blow off Russia, and you can't blow off the Russia-Ukrainian war. You've got to pay attention to this problem. You have to pay attention to us. We will not be ignored, like Glenn Close says in Fatal Attraction.
I will not be ignored, Dan.
Yeah.
One of the best movies ever.
So great. Yeah. Michael Douglas. So fantastic. Yeah. So that's my take. What do you think, Dan? What do you think?
I think that's exactly right. I think that's what the Russians are doing in Europe too. Somebody asked me a question earlier today about whether or not I thought that the drone that went into Poland last week or the week before, whenever it was actually a Ukrainian false flag. And I said, no, I don't think it has to be that complicated. I think it was the Russians. I think that the Russians are trying to do a couple of things. They're reminding the Americans that they're there and that they need to be paid attention to, number one. Number two, every big country probes its detractors, its enemies, just to see what the reaction is going to be. That's a great way to collect intelligence. And third, I think that they wanted to see what the NATO response would be, and the response was to ask for an Article 4 meeting. So I think the Russians actually were able to collect a lot of information by doing this probe. I don't think it was a Ukrainian false flag. There doesn't need to be a Ukrainian false flag. It's the Russians. And just like what happened in Alaska, I think that this is a well thought out exercise that the Russians do in order to collect intelligence.
Big Boss Bob Ross says, how much of Trump's blustering is an attempt at Nixonian madman politics, and how much is just him being an actual petulant narcissist? Well, I think those two things go together. There's a big Venn diagram. I think from what I've read about Donald Trump, look, he came of age under Richard Nixon. He's older than I am, but Roger Stone was a Nixon acolyte who became a close advisor to Trump. I think he was deeply influenced by Nixon's politics domestically and internationally. He liked the fact that Nixon tried to make peace in places like Vietnam by going to China, made a big splash. He also liked the fact that Nixon bent the rules. I think he totally tapped into the whole silent majority thing that Nixon had going, the race baiting, which was a Nixon. I think he's really influenced by Nixon. I don't even think it's like a coincidence. I think he's like ripping this page right out of the Nixon playbook. A lot of this page.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think that's exactly right.
Let's see. We got more questions here. How badly should we read? Goom Baroom wants to. How badly should we read into Hegseth's order for hundreds of senior officials to meet next week? I literally can't think of a good reason to do that. Well,
it's not prepared to go to war. I mean, it's probably something far, far easier to explain than that. But in the very early days of the Second World War, we did this, where Roosevelt called all the generals together and said, look, we're going to war. It's a world war. We're going to have to win. There's no way to lose. We have to, win and win big. We're going to knock out the Germans. We're going to knock out the Japanese and the Italians and, go, 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 USA. Okay, well, since then, we don't bring all generals together for some kind of kumbaya session. Maybe it's to threaten them. Maybe to downsize them. Maybe it's some kind of political purity exercise. We genuinely don't know. But we do know that this is a very, very unusual thing.
I mean, it's obviously not meant. I don't know. See, I think that's terrorizing your own employees is bad management.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing here.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it turns out, hey, we just wanted to introduce the new word processor that we got, or the new encryption protocol or whatever, or I just wanted to say hi, or, hey, we're going to talk about the rebrand of the DOD to the War Department. But it's like, whenever your boss says like, John, you got a minute? I need you to come into the office. It's like, well, what's it about, boss? We'll talk about it when you get here. That's ominous.
That's not good. Yeah.
Thank you, USXXX, for the donation. The scary part about the generals heading to Quantico is you don't know if we're going to war or if they have to swear a loyalty oath on Fox News Live to Trump.
Oh, imagine.
That's, I wouldn't put that past them.
No, I wouldn't either. I hate to say. That's why I'm saying I genuinely don't know what to expect.
No, nobody knows what the fuck is going on. Spectrum's asking you, John, when's the Joe Rogan podcast coming out? Can't wait.
Yeah, we're recording on October 9th, and it's coming out October 10th. I'm excited and nervous. But
well, how did you already recorded it, right? So
No. We're recording on the 9th of October.
Okay. Okay. And then when does it come out?
On October 10th.
Frasmataz, also for you, John. Can you tell us about the meeting with the Iranian president?
Yeah. So
not happening, right?
Funny thing. He had this meeting with 6 of us, peace activists. It was canceled. And so no problem. I understand they delayed issuance of his visa. He finally got the visa. He arrives today in New York. He's giving a speech tomorrow or he gave the speech today. Anyway, whatever it is, he is doing a meeting with prominent Iranian Americans, but the meeting with the peace activists, and it was going to be Medea Benjamin from Code Pink and Andy Shalal and a bunch of people. Well, six of us. That is canceled.
I'm sorry. That sucks.
Me too. It was going to be
maybe next time.
I'd never done.
Although an invite to Tehran would be even better, frankly.
I will take it. Yes.
So let's see. We had a request. Well, there's someone trolling us, but okay, whatever. Hawken, are you going to start supporting Russia now that Trump is supporting Ukraine? I don't think Trump is supporting Ukraine. I think Trump is trying to pressure both sides. I don't know. John, you want to answer that? I think it's a troll.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't even make sense.
All right. Kobus Hatting asking, can we talk about 107 Days, Kamala's book? Some people say that book will be the end of her political career. Oh, I agree. And I don't think it's an accident. I think she decided that she was not going to run again. She's not going to run for political office again. And she decided to write a candid memoir. And she doesn't really give any shits. And so she's just telling it as she sees it. I don't know. I say good for her because I like political memoirs. And I always say, if political or otherwise, if you're not willing to never eat lunch in this town again, as the name of a really great memoir is called, don't write a memoir. It's like write a roman à clé, write a fiction book, whatever, but don't do it. I'm looking forward to reading the book. I'll definitely pick up a copy. I think I do not think she's interested in running again. And also she's smart enough to know that there's nowhere for her to go.
No, she'll be crushed in a Democratic primary. I've come around to your way of thinking on this because I thought that she was being, how should I say it? I thought she wasn't being honest in the book. I thought that she was trying to appear tougher than she was. I thought she was trying to appear more decisive than she was. And then I've come around to your position that she probably is laying it all out because she's not running, that she's criticizing Walz and Buttigieg, exactly, because she's not running. Yeah. She got a job the other day teaching law part-time at Stanford, which is probably a good fit for her. Actually.
Totally. Yeah, I picture her provost.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Connie Rice.
Yeah. That's what she'll end up doing, something like that. By the way, the latest excerpt that broke, I have to pick your brain about this, John, is about Gaza. She claims secretly, behind closed doors, very secretly, she was fighting the good fight for the victims of the Gazan genocide. She was raising Cain, fighting Biden and the Zionists, but she couldn't do it in public. But the people who were there, they know where she stood.
Yeah, how'd that work out for us? No, I don't believe that for a second. No, and you know why? Because something would have leaked out. It's Washington. It leaks like a sieve.
Yeah, that's the part. Yeah, that's so true. I mean, if she was raising hell, she would have been accused. She was always accused of disloyalty by the Biden staff. They would have gone after her for that.
Absolutely, they would have gone after her, and they didn't.
And also, here's my thing, John. In politics, if it isn't public, it don't count. It's like that's the job is articulating policies and communication. And if you don't do that, well, you're not. It just doesn't matter. It's like if a policy falls in the woods, if your integrity falls in the woods, it does not make a sound. If it happens in a closed door meeting, it just does not. I mean, I don't doubt that she may have said like, well, Mr. President, an awful lot of civilians are losing their lives and we have to express some concern. And then he was like, shut up, Kamala. Like, this is what we're doing. We're with Israel. Next. I think that's how that went.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, she was only in the Senate for a few years. She really was no one of any import within the Democratic Party, not over any extended length of time. And so people like that, like Kamala Harris. She was an up-and-comer in California politics. Yeah, she was an up-and-comer in California. But people like Kamala Harris and Dan Quayle and Mike Pence, they're easily ignored in Washington. Easily ignored. Yeah, she had no locus of power. Exactly.
David Wagner's asking, did we see where 911 systems went down in L.A. and MS? What's MS? I don't know.
Mississippi?
I don't know. Think there's any connection to the SIM farm in New York? Could we be facing a cyber telecoms attack? I mean, LA
I did not hear that. I'm gonna.
Take Google a look and see if you can find that. Thank you to me from Sean Pat.
Louisiana.
Thank you for recommending Day of the Jackal. Haven't been able to put it down. So good. And when you're done with that, pick up Dogs of War next. It's fantastic. Also, No Comebacks, which is a short story collection by Forsyth. Great. And the movie Day of the Jackal is fantastic. Even though my dad irresponsibly took me to see an R-rated movie when I was 10. That's okay. It was great. Thank you, Dad. Appreciate you.
Louisiana and Mississippi.
Oh, okay. Louisiana and Mississippi.
Widespread 9/11 outages. Authorities are citing a severed fiber optic cable. Some kind of road crew severed the cable, they say.
I can't imagine what national security. There are military bases there, of course. I don't know. Doesn't seem like it's a backwater, though. Let's face it; these are some of the poorest states in the country. Yeah. This is for you, John. Peruse S. A general question about the CIA. If you can answer this, how does plausible deniability actually work, and how much freedom does that give to the CIA to operate freely?
Yeah, that's a good question. So let's see. I'll use as an example Pakistan. There was a CIA contractor in Pakistan just after I was there, and he was stuck in bumper to bumper traffic in Lahore, which is quite common, about 20 hours out of the 24-hour day.
Oh, sure.
And he looks in his side view mirror and he sees a guy coming up alongside of the car and pulling a gun out of his waistband. So he pulls his own gun, shoots the guy, kills him.
Oh, shit.
And then hits the gas and kills two guys on bicycles.
Jesus Christ.
Instead of running to the consulate, which is what they train us to do, just get to the consulate as fast as you can. He again gets bogged down in traffic, and then he hits the ambulance that had been dispatched to help the guys that he ran over, and he kills the ambulance driver.
So it's like a double tap strike, but without a drone.
I don't mean to laugh, but it's like, talk about a bad day for everybody involved.
Yeah, no doubt.
The cops arrest him. And as soon as he gets arrested, he says, I'm CIA. Well, he wasn't actually CIA, but he was the CIA's responsibility because he was a CIA contractor, counterterrorism contractor. Okay, he made a whole bunch of mistakes here. Not the least of which was that you don't ever say that you're CIA. The station knows you're CIA. The station's going to take care of you. Now, because you're an American, the Pakistani government is going to have to inform the American consulate. The consulate informs the embassy informs the station, and they're going to get you out. Now, the plausible deniability...
You might have to cool your heels for a day or two.
Yeah, 3 days, yes. But the deniability is this. The Pakistani military tells the government, this is a CIA man. And the government leaks it to the Pakistani media, which then gins up squads that want to come and lynch you at the jail. So the American ambassador has to go and say, this is not a CIA man. Just deny. It's not a CIA man. And then you have the station chief grant an interview to one or two preferred journalists saying, look, this is not a CIA man. And then a day later or so, the station chief will go to see the director of the Pakistani intelligence service and say, listen, you've got my guy. You need to let him go.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to give you, we'll give the people he killed, we'll give their families $100,000 each. We'll give you guys $1 million. You can do whatever you want with it. Just let my guy go.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's turned over in the middle of the night. We put him on a plane and send him off. That's plausible deniability. Now, operationally, you can implement a clandestine operation and make it look like the operation was hatched by somebody else. For example, we know, thanks to the Vault 7 revelations that WikiLeaks published, that the CIA wrote malicious code in order to leak online and have it infect, let's say, the Iranian nuclear program. But in the lines of code, they've embedded standalone lines of code that are written in Cyrillic or written in Arabic or written in Chinese. So they can plausibly say, look, we wish we could disrupt the Iranian nuclear program, but clearly this is Chinese because the code's partly written in Chinese or in Russian or Hebrew. So don't point at us. That's plausible deniability.
Got you.
All the time.
We have a little housekeeping to take care of and some ads. So we're going to put in producer Robbie West in. And Robbie, come on in and clean house.
Great. All right. So we're going to do some housekeeping. This will be quick and easy, unlike how it normally is with my wife. First and foremost, lots of people have been asking on YouTube why you cannot make donations. The short answer is because YouTube took away your ability to make donations. Supposedly that will get fixed next month. We'll see if that happens or not.
I think that was technically my fault, but all right.
It's just them just being douchebags. So it is what it is. Second, if you're on YouTube, please consider also watching John and Ted over on Rumble, because Rumble pays them a lot more. And what a lot of people do is that they'll watch on both. They'll watch on both platforms. Other thing about Rumble, John's last episode for his life story will be airing. Either on the 1st or the 2nd. I need to figure out how that's going to work. Also, Ted's his interview will also be airing as a Rumble exclusive. And so for those of you who've been waiting for that, they'll be hitting very early in October. So
they're good.
Oh yeah, no,
they're worth watching.
Oh, I completely agree. And as far as the trolls over on YouTube, I have been squashing them. So I have no problem dropping that little bomb. So
yeah, we don't need trolls. All right, let's. You can go ahead and put up that ad, Robbie. I'm taking you out. Okay, so. A few other questions here. I think you've been asked about this, John. What do you think about Tucker Carlson's 9/11 doc? It's Ashley Jalla. I haven't seen it, so I can't answer that question.
I'm actually in one episode. It's episode 5, but I went to watch it the other day, and you have to subscribe at $6 a month, and I'm not a subscriber, so I couldn't see what it was like. But friends of mine have watched all of it so far, and they say that it's good, that it's interesting, it's thought-provoking, but that it might be tending a little toward conspiracy theories.
That's always the concern when it comes to 9/11.
Yeah. I'm not sure that that's actually true, though, in this case, because I know a lot of the people. I know almost all of the people that he had interviewed for this show, and it's people like Mike Scheuer. I sat 10 feet away from Mike Scheuer in the CIA's counterterrorism center. It's Mike
John,
Scheuer.
I better read that ad. They expire like mayflies. So let me go ahead and pop that in. If you haven't already, please make sure you download the Rumble app. It's free, so simple to use, and the best way to stay connected to the content you want. Once you've got it, search for our channel, and hit follow. That way, you'll get a notification every time we go live. No missed shows, no extra steps. You can grab it right now using the link in the description or the pinned live chat. Download it to your phone, and you're ready to go. And if you prefer watching on the big screen, Rumble is available on all major streaming devices and smart TVs. Just search for Rumble, follow the channel, and be part of the action. Okay, sorry, John. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I forget what I was saying, to tell you the truth.
The 9/11 documentary.
Oh, yeah. So he interviewed Mike Scheuer. He interviewed Mike's wife, the redheaded devil. He interviewed everybody who's still around from the FBI that knew anything about 9/11 or worked on the case. So I don't know. I'd like to see it myself before I make a judgment.
Ashley Jalla said that she saw the first. I assume that's a she. She's a she. Saw the first episode and it was interesting.
See,
FYI.
that's what I'm hearing too. I'm hearing that it's compelling.
By the way, $20 donation from Government Man 43. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Why don't more of these airspace incursions result in shoot downs?
Yeah,
they happen constantly. Taiwan, Europe, etc. I have a theory, but I always talk about this topic. So, John, why don't you take it?
Well, the dirty little secret is that we do that to other countries every single day.
That's what I was going to say.
And so we don't want them to shoot us down. We do it for the same reasons the Russians would do it, or the Chinese would do it, or the Israelis would do it. You probe. You want to see what the response is. You want to see how long it takes for you to be intercepted. Maybe you take some photography while you're up there. All of those fighter jets are equipped with cameras. It's all about the intelligence collection.
Yeah, I mean it's like, it's like the theory. There's this great book called The Theory of Cooperation, and it talks about stuff like the Christmas truce during World War I, where people who were destroying each other nevertheless start singing Christmas carols and came out of their trenches and basically decided to spend a few days together just celebrating Christmas. In other words, like, people have to talk we're not even adversaries. It's not just like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, I'll kill you, I'll kill you. It's not.
Yes.
I mean, it's sort of like how we fuck the Iranians 6 ways till Sunday with sanctions, but we still have to talk to them about shit every now and then. So there have to be back channels. We have to talk. And, we don't want our planes shot down because we do this shit all the time. And, just like you said, John, and we don't want our shot down either. All right. So I do want to talk about the statue. I have to talk about the statue.
The statue is very funny and deserves a few minutes.
Yeah, it does. So I strongly recommend, if you haven't seen a picture of it, to go Google a picture of the Secret Handshake statue. So this was a 12-foot tall statue. This group, basically, of artists from the Secret Handshake, they got a permit from the National Park Service to put it on the National Mall. It has a picture of Trump and Epstein kind of frolicking gaily, holding hands together, and they're kind of like, like two gay little boys holding hands. There's really no other way to describe it. It is fucking hilarious. The artist, who's goes by the nom d'artiste Patrick, says that honors Trump's one and only true friend. Anyway, the point is, the National Park Service claims that somehow this statue violated the terms of the permit, and I call bullshit on that.
Yeah.
And but basically, obviously, the Trumpies saw it, got furious. It went to the administration, and someone at the White House said, "Get that fucking thing out of the Washington Mall," and now it's gone.
Oh my God.
I love artists when they do shit like this. It is so funny.
This is at least the third one of these statues.
Yeah.
They appear in the middle of the night. There was one up by the Capitol building a week or two ago. And then they make a splash for a day or so, and then they just kind of disappear. So in this case, the National Park Service took it down. I guess Trump didn't think it was funny.
It's an act of political censorship.
That's exactly right. And they had permission from the National Park Service.
Yeah, and you know what? If given everything that's happened with Jimmy Kimmel and so on, if they have if they're alleging that there was a breach of the contract, then honestly they ought to show what it is. Otherwise, no one's going to believe them.
Yes, I agree.
So
we'll see. I think this is just going to continue. There are always going to be people looking to have a little bit of fun.
No doubt about it. John Smith says he's very disappointed that New Zealand hasn't recognized Palestine. Historically, we haven't been afraid to stand up, like our anti-nuclear law. John, how did the CIA feel about New Zealand? So there's kind of like a comment and a question in there.
I'm
surprised they haven't.
A New Zealand story.
Go ahead.
Ronald Reagan in the 1980s cut off all intelligence cooperation with New Zealand because, gasp, the New Zealanders would not let us dock a nuclear-powered submarine in New Zealand. And they were right not to. It's their country. And so he ordered that we cease all intelligence exchanges. So in 1991, we began to rehabilitate the New Zealanders. And so I was instructed to give a briefing on Iraq. And I'm proud to say this was the very first intelligence exchange between the United States and New Zealand since Reagan cut the New Zealanders off. I was proud to have a little role, and got invited to a lovely, lovely dinner at the New Zealand ambassador's residence. That was years ago. Of course, now New Zealand's a member of the Five Eyes. We give the New Zealanders literally everything. They give us literally everything that they have. Relations could not be better. I'm not necessarily sure that that's a great thing, because it also makes New Zealand susceptible to American political pressure more than it otherwise might be. This issue of not recognizing Palestine is a great example. I have no doubt whatsoever that the United States went to the New Zealanders and said, look, don't recognize Palestine. And they said, okay, we won't, because that's usually how that works. But otherwise, at least at the CIA, we loved the Kiwis. And we enjoyed working with them, and relations were very, very good, very tight.
John, got a question from Ellie Louise on the YouTube. Want to know about Otto Skorzeny. I don't know if wanted to know if you had any thoughts or opinions on him and his life.
Yeah, he was a fascinating character. Otto Skorzeny, to the best of my recollection, was a Nazi officer, very wily, SS officer. He was responsible for a lot of really bad shit that was done by the Nazis. He's the guy, to the best of my recollection, he's the guy that rescued Mussolini when Italian partisans captured him for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
He was arrested. He was acquitted for something he did, I think, at Dachau, but he was arrested again after the war and escaped. In 1948, he showed up in Egypt as a political advisor to President Nasser. There were a lot of Nazis working for the Egyptians back then, including Martin Bormann, who was repeatedly seen at cocktail parties in Egypt. So after he worked for Nasser, he went to work for whoever the dictator of Argentina happened to be at the time. I don't remember anymore. And then he left Argentina and went to work for, do you know? The Israeli Mossad.
Of course.
Of course. They hired all kinds of Nazis, the Israelis. He was never brought to justice. He died in the 70s. I think he had cancer, but he died in his bed. He wasn't like assassinated or murdered or, died on death row or, nothing. He died in his own bed. Never faced justice for any of his war crimes.
Although he got the shit kicked out of him by some Frenchman.
Oh, really?
Like the last year of his life. In 1975, he was coming out of a Paris TV station, and a former officer of the French army basically thrashed him and almost killed him.
Good.
So,
somebody else asked a question earlier that I made a mention to get to. The question was, at the CIA, did we use hard drugs as part of our cover overseas? That's actually a great question. So the answer is, the overall general answer is no. But if you were assigned to Yemen, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Eritrea, or Somalia, you got special dispensation to chew gat, right? It stretches out your mouth like this. It's like a mild stimulant, like drinking a pot of coffee. So
it stains your teeth horribly.
Terrible. Make them dark brown. So yeah, you could chew gat. If you were in a position operationally, let's say that you've infiltrated the Cali cartel, and you have to snort a line of coke to prove your bona fides, then by God, go ahead and snort the coke. You're absolutely allowed to do that. And then when it came to polygraph time, well, what you would do is you would write a cable saying, hey, I infiltrated the Cali cartel and we had a meeting, and at the meeting, they made everybody snort a line of coke. So in order to maintain my cover, I had to snort the line of coke. And then they say, okay, that's fine. They put it in your file. And then when it comes polygraph time, they'll say, other than what you reported from the Cali cartel, have you done any hard drugs?
Mm-hmm.
And then you just answer truthfully.
So my father was on the team from the Air Force and the Pentagon that sold the AWACS to the Saudis.
Oh, and, no kidding.
Yeah, he was shopping it around, right? And so anyway, he showed me the letter. He got there was a understanding. They told him, like, listen, there's a strong chance the Saudis will expect you to smoke hashish with them to close the deal and to celebrate. Of course, it's illegal. This was the late 70s. But anyway, he's a high-ranking member of the military. You're not allowed to do that. So they gave him a letter, basically a papal dispensation that said, you are allowed to smoke hashish with the Saudis while attending, only if it's clear that it's expected and it would be rude to refuse. And it's just so funny because it's on official Pentagon letterhead, and it's sort of like it's your little get out of. It's just these things are so strange. Like in Pakistan, I'm sure you saw this. Obviously it's theoretically a dry country, but if you stay at like a nice hotel like the Pearl Continental, they have these shitty beers you can get delivered to your hotel room.
Continental.
But you have to sign what I used to call the infidel card. You have to sign a card that says you're not Muslim, you're not a devout Muslim. And so I was like, so it's basically like, I'm a worthless scum who doesn't believe in Allah. And so can I have one of your shitty beers?
Yes. And they put formaldehyde in the Murray and Murray Gold in Pakistan. I had one beer. I thought I was going to die. I was like praying for death to liberate me. In the Gulf, in the Persian Gulf. Sorry for those Iranians who object to me when I use the term.
Ghost Rider wants to know our opinions about Spain and Italy deploying warships for the Gaza aid flotilla, and how will Israel respond? Well, I did not know that either. I know that they were trying to protect them from drone attacks, which apparently have been coming fast and furious.
Yeah, I did not know that. I'm going to check it out. If that's true, and I hope it is, that's going to seriously up the ante for the Israelis. What, the Israelis going to attack Spain and Italy? Somebody has to do something to help the Palestinians. I mean, we need shitloads of food and medicine and water.
Colonella Valerio has a great historical question. Does the CIA always going after leftist regimes stem from them bringing in Nazis after World War II?
In part, I would say yes. But, there's another thing, too, about our great nation. And that is that we always, at least for the last, century, say 130 years, we always need an ism to oppose. We always need, the government always wants to rally Americans against a group of people, right? So whether it's socialism or communism or Bolshevism or anarchism or, whatever, the government always wants to try to bring people together to smash something that perhaps just theoretically might someday, perhaps, maybe pose some kind of a problem. And I think it's more that than it is the Nazis. Although I'm sure you're right. I'm sure the Nazis had their own influence behind the scenes as well. God knows we brought enough Nazis over here. I mean, that's why we have NASA. Seriously. NASA is made up of Nazi rocket scientists.
Yeah, that's true. The old V2 rocket program and all those people. I'm a little bit, I do think this also comes just down to the very simple fact that, socialism and communism were viewed as the biggest existential threat to Western capitalism because they presented a model that in some ways worked better than capitalism and that would be appealing, right? It's literally like, hey, we're creating entire countries, entire societies, entire economies, and we're providing stuff that you guys aren't, like free healthcare and free housing or very cheap housing and free college and all that. Yeah. If that caught on, what if we wanted a revolution here? That I think it's kind of like that simple.
Yeah.
In most cases, but maybe it's too simplistic. I like this question. This is for you, Big Boss Bob Ross, which I always mispronounce. John, you mentioned in speeches that hurting children is a line you'd never cross while working at the CIA. Have you ever heard of or known of other agents crossing that line?
No. And that's why I bring it up as a hypothetical situation when I give speeches at colleges and universities. The point that I make in these speeches is that is the line I would never cross. But the CIA does not offer any ethics courses. And so if you have a source who says, hey, you know, I'm good for you. I'm good to you. I've given you everything you wanted. I saved American lives with my information. Go get me a prostitute. Sure, you're going to go get him a prostitute. It's part of the job. But what if he says, go get me a child prostitute? Well, nobody at headquarters is going to say, no, you can't do that. You have to know in your heart that that's the wrong thing to do. But I never knew anybody who did that with children. I mentioned Andrew Warren yesterday on the show and his rape of 23 women. He was only convicted of 2. But there are a lot of bad guys at the CIA. There are a lot of people who they're sociopaths or even psychopaths, and they have no moral compass. And so, you know, you have to go in there knowing right from wrong, because God knows the CIA is not going to teach it to you. One last comment, Ted. I didn't finish my thought on Persian Gulf. So the internationally recognized name of the Persian Gulf is the Persian Gulf. However, in the Arab countries on the peninsula side of the Persian Gulf, it's called either the Gulf or Al-Khalij al-Arabi, the Arabian Gulf. Iranians lose their shit when you call it the Arabian Gulf. And a couple of times on the show that I had with Michelle, I accidentally let slip Arabian Gulf. We got hate messages from Iran and from Iranian Americans, and I actually had to issue a correction that I was very sorry. But even when I say the Gulf, people with whom I'm very close and who are listening right now will yell at me after the show's over and say that I should apologize and correct myself to call it the Persian Gulf. So,
well, speaking of possible apologies, Donald Trump is basically accused the UN of what he called triple sabotage. So he shows up at the UN. I watched the video. He and Melania get on the escalator, and it's true. It's very strange. They're on it for basically 2 seconds, and as soon as they hit it, it stops. He goes crazy on X, saying that Melania and he could have pitched forward and died. He said this is on purpose. Also, the teleprompter went out, so he had to ad-lib his remarks, which is part of why things got a little crazy and insane yesterday during his UN speech. And finally, there was bad audio for the rest of it, basically muffling his speech. So, listen, Donald Trump is obviously the ultimate blowhard. I mean, you know, if you didn't know what a blowhard was and needed to explain it to people from a distant land, you would point to Donald Trump. But he's also maybe not wrong. I mean, although the UN has an explanation. They said that actually one of his support staff accidentally triggered the red button at the top of the escalator to take a picture or something, or leaned against it, and it triggered the automatic shutoff. I'm inclined to believe that. But I also don't think that the president and first lady's lives were at risk in this mishap, because escalators don't really go that fast, except for the ones in the London Tube, which kick ass. They go.
Those are dangerous.
They haul. But
just
anyway,
they don't have the wooden ones anymore.
Oh God, the ones with the fires.
Yeah.
So the although they were kind of cool looking, but
they were. I was living there when the fire took place.
Oh man. So all right, but I will say, you know, this kind of sabotage politically, it has happened. I mean, probably the most famous example is the Nixon-Kennedy debate of 1960. You know, Kennedy's staff learned that Nixon was like me, a sweaty dude. Like if it was over 65, he would be uncomfortably hot.
Yes.
So they went down to the basement and cranked up the heat before the debate. They knew that they told JFK, and JFK wore a linen suit and no underwear, so that he would be cool, calm, and collected. And so Nixon's makeup is like falling off his face, like Rudy Giuliani. You know, he's miserable and he's sweating like a pig, and you know he looked like shit on television. Fox News would have like ergonomic warfare against people like me. Whenever they have a leftist on, they had this broken down secretary's chair that they put in front of the thing, and the thing was kind of like tipping over all the time. So you had to sort of balance in order to not fall off the podium where you're in that studio. So these things are not completely. It's not impossible.
Yes.
Do you think that escalator gate is a real thing?
No,
Okay.
I don't. And I think it's actually kind of sad that Donald Trump even mentioned it. If somebody's going to take a pot shot at him from the roof of the Butler County Fairgrounds, okay, yeah, that's really, really bad. If somebody's going to be in the bushes alongside his golf course and take a shot at him, yes, that is really, really bad. But shutting off the escalator that's going half a mile an hour, come on.
I'd just like to point out, by the way, thank you, Robbie, for pointing this out to us. We are currently number 9 in the nation on Rumble right now, even as we speak, right behind OAN, right behind Fox News.
Amazing.
Bannon's number 1. Congratulations, Steve. But we're coming for your ass. So, anyway.
Yeah. Somebody asked me the date of my Oxford Union debate. It is December the 4th. I do not yet know whom I will be debating. But December 4th, be there or be square.
John, why do Greeks own so many diners? And I love that question because
great question.
Here in New York, I don't know if Greeks own diners outside of the New York metro area, but there's always been certain sectors that are dominated by certain ethnic groups. Like for a long time, newsstands were run by South Asians, mostly Indians. There, a lot of barber shops were Bukharan Jews from Uzbekistan. And so why so many, why diners for Greeks?
I don't know. It's just one of those crazy things. And it's not specific just to New Jersey and New York, or even to, New England and New Jersey and New York. It's all over the country. Chicago, even in the DC area. I don't know. And growing up, even my parents had 3 restaurants all the years that I was growing up. It's one of those things. It's like all the cops being Irish at one time. Mm-hmm. It's just something that people follow others of their ethnicity into. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to live in the Hamptons, and I remember finding out that all the landscapers were not only Mexican; they were from the same cluster of 2 or 3 villages in one province. I think it's Chihuahua province in Mexico, and basically a few of them came in the 70s, and they were like, "The water's fine, come on over," and more, and that's often how it works.
It's like the sous chefs. Like every sous chef at every good restaurant in New York is from Ecuador. It's just one of those things. Yeah.
It's Ecuadorian sous chef. It's just the thing. Abby Marie wants to know, any recommendations of media to share with people who went on a propaganda trip sponsored by Israel? Oh, I guess maybe like the right of return thing. I forget what that's called. Like, obviously there's much to choose from, but wondering what you would choose first.
That is a great
I'd
question.
go maybe Al Jazeera.
I read Al Jazeera, I read the Al Monitor, I read the Middle East Monitor, and I read Electronic Intifada. And then if I have time, just for old time's sake, I look at it's called the Gulf News. It's not called the Persian Gulf News. It's the Gulf News, which is the national English language paper of Bahrain.
John, I do want to talk to you about, I don't know if you're interested in this, but I am, so I'm going to inflict this upon you. So as someone who's been a defendant in a criminal case, it's got to affect you. So Luigi Mangione is filing a motion complaining about all the inflammatory remarks members of the Trump administration, including the president himself, have made on Fox and on social media, basically saying that Luigi Mangione, accused killer of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, is a pure assassin who shot someone in the back with links to left-wing extremists. They're saying, basically this is prejudicial, and it's the judge is Margaret Garnett rebuked the DOJ, said that these are violations of her order prohibiting prejudicial statements, and said if they keep up this shit, she's gonna impose sanctions, including contempt of court or fines. How can Luigi possibly get a fair trial when the president of the fucking United States is up his ass?
As soon as these words came out of Donald Trump's mouth, I thought to myself, oh my God, they're going to have to throw out the charges. For exactly that reason, Ted. When the president of the United States uses that bully pulpit to say this guy is an assassin, he's guilty, he did it because he's an extreme left-wing terrorist, he can't get a fair trial because the president has access to everybody. He's going to taint the jury pool, and they're not going to be able to impanel a jury that's going to be able to give him a fair hearing. Listen, fines are nice. Contempt of court is nice. That just means a slap on the hand. They're not going to make the prosecutor spend a night in jail for contempt of court. They're certainly not going to make the president spend a night in jail for contempt of court. So the defense gets nothing out of this.
No,
but I swear, if the president
I think he should walk.
Yeah, I'd actually let him go.
I honestly think whenever you have it doesn't even have to be the president, but let's say the governor or the mayor decides to weigh in on a case like this. Yeah. I'm going to go even further. Even when the prosecutor makes the announcement, like, we've decided to charge Bob Smith with blah, 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 that statement should be non-prejudicial. It should be completely straight, like, this happened, we're charging him with this, here's why. They shouldn't say anything about he was a dangerous person, we took him off the streets, we did a great job, the city is safer today. They shouldn't editorialize. I think if they editorialize, they've prejudiced the entire community and the entire jury pool.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I wouldn't be surprised if they continue to do this if we don't start seeing charges thrown out.
Thank you, Government Man 43. You guys are doing really great. Love watching you too. And John is a hero for blowing the whistle on torture. Thank you. Here. Thank you for that. Shameful that you went to prison. Also very, very true.
Thank you.
And this is from a former criminologist at Boise State.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I've never been to Idaho. I've been to 48 states. I've never been to Hawaii or Idaho. And I keep saying I'm going to go to Idaho just to say I've been there. If I come to Boise, let's have a coffee. Maybe I can even speak to a college class or something. I think
there's similarities to Montana, obviously. It's nice. Yeah. It's very Boise's a very underrated city. I used to appear in the Boise Weekly and as both a cartoonist and as a columnist. When I went to speak in Boise, I was thinking, this will be whatever. And people used to make jokes about Boise the way they made jokes about my hometown Dayton. But Boise's cool. It's what people said about Portland in 1990. It's hipsterizing. It's cool. It's off the grid. It's cheaper. It's got obviously the Old West vibe, but it's got big ass mountains right nearby. It's a cool place.
That's awesome. Yeah, I want to check it out. I'd like to see. I'm wasting a little bit of time, but I'd like to see Coeur d'Alene. I've always heard it's wonderful. I want to check it out.
Let's see. The last night saying, I tried to rush through the show from yesterday to see if we acknowledged the memorial, obviously, for Charlie Kirk as a gathering of psychopaths and scared. I don't know. Were they supposed to riot and burn everything down or what? I don't think they were supposed to riot and burn everything down. But look, I'm just going to say it. It was what a bunch of misfit toys, man. It's it was tacky. It was tawdry. It was like Idiocracy with President Camacho come to life. The grossest moment, of course, and this has been remarked upon by others, was when Trump basically disagreed with the moment of grace that the widow made, where she said, I forgive the person who killed my husband. Okay, so let me just give, Mr. President, let me give you some advice. When you go to a memorial service, you never argue with the widow. If the widow says, green's the best color, you say, yes, green is the best color. You agree with that because she's the widow, because her husband was just murdered. And you don't argue with her and say, no, actually, I hate what Trump said. I hate my enemies. it was tawdry. The politicism, the excess. I mean, he was a political guy, so I suppose it's appropriate. But obviously, I was made very uncomfortable by this sort of mishmash of, discount evangelism and far right politics. The whole thing. I thought the whole thing was just, I hate to say it, anti-American.
Right.
That be my take here. Let's see here. Yeah, so disrespectful to Erica Kirk. That's exactly right. Thank you, Aluk. Much agreed.
Agreed.
You'll see. And I was asked about Nick Fuentes. He's a yucky boy. I'm not going to get into Nick Fuentes. Adam Fighter, thanks for the reminder here. And Mr. Athenian also. We do have, John, we should talk about Nicolas Sarkozy.
Yeah.
So this is basically, Sarkozy was accused and has now been convicted of basically what Donald Trump was accused of but did not do. Donald Trump was accused of getting Russia to install him as president in this first term. He didn't, and Russia didn't. But Sarkozy went to Muammar Gaddafi and his aides did and said, hey, can you give me some money? This is when he ran for president successfully in 2007. So, John, this is actually a really interesting story because in France, the way that, they've addressed the problems that we have with excessive money in electoral politics is that every candidate gets the same exact amount of money. It comes out of the treasury. And so what happens, and so it's a great idea. The problem is if you're, scum, then you cheat and you decide that you want an extra advantage and you want to spend extra money. But, it's sort of like analogous to how Ronald Reagan couldn't get money from Congress for the Contras. So he, set up the whole, Iran-Contra affair to get a slush fund that he could go do an end run around Congress. In the same way, Sarkozy couldn't get the money, in France from campaign contributors. So his people went to the Libyans and said, hey, when our guy becomes president, he'll look kindly upon you. And how about some cash for Nikki, so he can run for president successfully. There's no evidence that the scheme ever came to pass. There's no evidence that money ever changed hands. There's no evidence that any money was spent from any Libyan money was spent. Mm-hmm. But that said, the talks took place, and there was a discussion, and there was a scheme, but it never materialized. He was convicted not of actually doing it, but of the conspiracy. So he's going to prison. He can appeal. He has a mechanism to appeal. But in this particular round, he has to report to prison within a month, and his appeal can proceed while he's waiting for after he reports to prison. But he's going to go. He's going to be the former president of France. Is going to be in prison probably for at least a year as a result of all this.
That is just amazing to me.
So
it really is.
It's it is amazing. And I was asked about this earlier on another show. What is has this ever happened to a French president before? And I would say the closest you can come to, well, I guess you could say it happened to Léon Blum, the first Jewish president of France. He was interned by the Vichy authorities and then put in a concentration camp during World War II. But he didn't do anything wrong except be a leftist. And then Marshal Philippe Pétain was, of course, arrested at the end of World War II. He was the collaborationist traitor. And then he spent the rest of his life until 1951 at Île-Dieu, which is basically a one-man prison just for him off the coast of France. They rolled Napoleon style. He was sentenced to death. Charles de Gaulle commuted his sentence. And so because he was old as shit. He was 85, 86 years old at the end of the war, died at 91. And it was just like, and a lot of French people really still liked him. And he was, I mean, people have to remember, he was an incredible hero of World War I. So it was such a mixed bag, for him to do what he did in World War II, that it's sort of like, well, there's two Philippe Pétains. There's the one who saved France at the Battle of Verdun, and then there's the one who sold France out and shipped Jews off to be murdered during World War II.
Yeah. There's a former French prime minister. He's a Vichy prime minister, buried in Washington in Rock Creek Cemetery.
Wait, is that Pierre Laval?
I believe it is Pierre Laval, actually.
Pierre Laval was executed.
Oh,
so
then
doesn't mean he was not buried there, though.
I'm gonna find it.
By the way, he is on the. If you ever walk down Broadway, where they have all the markers for people who received ticker tape parades, Pierre Laval is there. He got a ticker tape parade down Broadway when he was prime minister in the 1930s. He was a socialist deputy, and then he moved to the right under Pétain.
Here it is. His name is Camille Chautauqua, a three-time prime minister of France during the Third Republic. He was prime minister in 1930, 33, 34, 37, 38, and briefly in 40 following the fall of France to Nazi Germany. He was briefly prime minister in the Vichy government.
Yeah,
he came to the United States for an official meeting and defected.
Smart. He's like, fuck this noise. I'm not going back to hang out with Marshal Pétain.
But you know what? It says in 1946, he was convicted in absentia of collaboration with the Nazis, and he was later given amnesty in 1954. But he was in the United States the whole time. Anyway, he died in Washington in 1963 and was laid to rest in Rock Creek Cemetery.
Yeah, Pierre Laval was shot by firing squad. He was the big one. He was a fucking beast. Is it Rational's asking, do we think Trump will use Kirk's death as his Reichstag fire? He's fucking trying.
He's trying to. Yeah, absolutely. He's trying to.
Luke says, we got a book recommendation earlier from Ted. John, could get a movie recommendation from you.
Oh, like an espionage movie recommendation?
I guess so, yeah.
You know what? I will say that the one movie that most closely represented real life in the CIA was called The Recruit. It came out, I'm going to say 20 years ago, 2005 or 2004. And it starred Al Pacino and I forget who. The only thing that they embellished in that movie was they did not beat us in training. They beat him, and they made it uncomfortable for you, but they didn't actively beat you in training. Everything else was just solidly right on. In fact, I went to that movie with my then girlfriend, who later became my wife. She was also a senior CIA officer, and we went with 4 other friends of ours from the CIA, and we were so shocked at how close it was to real life in the CIA that we sat through all of the credits to see who their advisor was. And they didn't have an advisor, which was crazy to me. But that's how I've put food on the table. I've been an advisor on, I don't know, half a dozen movies and TV series just to try to keep things right. Yeah, most recently 2 years ago on True Lies.
I've only gotten to be an advisor once on Syriana.
Oh, so that's Bob Baer's book was turned into Syriana. Mm-hmm. That was a good movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I was a little bit pissed because they didn't listen to my advice.
Yeah.
You can give advice. You can lead a director to good advice, but you can't make him take it.
That's right.
Although I understand why they ignored me, but whatever. Let's see. A couple more questions. We're over, so we should go.
Over.
Is that why France instigated the Libyan civil war in 2011, basically to shut Gaddafi's mouth? Yeah, basically.
Probably. Yeah.
And Peter, how does a toad like Nicolas Sarkozy end up with a hottie like Carla Bruni? Carla Bruni,
right?
Is a delicious morsel with maybe the best hair of any woman on earth. She's a beautiful brunette. She's a singer-songwriter and a model. And holy shit, I mean, the dude's got game. She's his third wife. And John, you'll hate this story, but the way he met his second wife, his first wife and him were invited to a wedding where the woman who would become his second wife was getting married. Uh-huh. He picked her up at her wedding.
What?
Yeah. A month later, their marriage was over.
Oh my God.
I mean, the guy must have mad game.
He must. He's got something special in his pants, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
it's obviously, it's not because he's pretty.
No.
Anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate you being here. We're here Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be back tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern time, as before. Please like, follow, and share the show. If you're not watching us on Rumble, please do so. And we will see ya later. Bye.
Bye-bye.